So the big Andy Burnham speech today, he's going to rebalance power in Britain. What it means, of course, is more and more devolution, as if by magic that's going to solve everything. Well, just ask yourself a question. Has devolution in London, with Mayor Sadiq Khan, made London streets safer? No. Has devolution in Wales given them a better NHS or education? No, they're the worst in the country. And has devolution in Scotland cleaned up Scottish politics? Well, I think the recent jailing of one of the former bosses of the SNP would say no. Just to give more and more powers, indeed including tax-raising powers, to mayors all over the country of itself won't stop the boats, won't deal with the national debt. And frankly, I think what you're seeing from Andy Burnham is what he thinks is the big idea, but it's not going to work because he says it'll take 10 years to lift Britain back up to where it needs to be. I would suggest those of us that believe that Britain is broken would say we haven't got 10 years. The country will be totally unrecognisable in 10 years. What the country wants is immediate action. And I tell you what, they're not going to get it from Mr. Burnham, or should I say, open borders Andy.
The looming crisis, Andy Burnham's high-stakes gamble and the Farage counterstrike. The political chessboard in Westminster has just been upended. Andy Burnham has taken to the podium today to lay out a vision for the nation that is as audacious as it is perilous. It is a moment that demands our full attention, a rhetorical line in the sand that could redefine the economic fabric of the United Kingdom. If you are watching the rapid shifts in our political landscape and wondering where the country is heading, you need to stay with us until the very end of this broadcast. Take a breath, compose yourself, and let us unpack the escalating drama together. Before we dissect the meat of today's address, if you value deep, mature analysis of the events shaping our realm, please take a brief moment to support our independent journalism. This is Britain, your dedicated home for Westminster Insight. By hitting that subscribe button right now, you help this channel grow, survive, and continue bringing you the unvarnished truth. Your support is the lifeblood of our work, so please subscribe and ensure you stay informed. Now, let us immerse ourselves into the heart of the matter.
You said on stage as well, you watched his victory speech earlier. I'd be keen to hear what your reaction was to that as well. You said as well that we don't really know what he's going to be like as leader. But if I was to ask you to use your imagination, what kind of a Prime Minister do you think he'll be?
Lots of platitudes, lots of warm words, but very little positive action that will do anything to turn around the deep crises that this country is in. And I really mean, look, I wish him well. I wish him well. You know, if he suddenly announces that he's going to, leave the ECHR and start drilling him and all something, if he does all those things, I'll be delighted. I just don't see it.
Faster rate. Our debt's rising at a faster rate than any country in the world apart from Botswana. How about that? All right. So if Burnham thinks, I can just chuck money at this, chuck money at that. Well, you know what? Burnham said about 6 months ago, we shouldn't worry about the bond markets. Well, I tell you what, Andy Burnham, you may not worry about the bond markets, but they'll worry about you. And if he goes down that route, there will be a major financial crisis within 6 months. But frankly, the truth is, I've no idea what his policies are. I've no idea what he believes in. This is an historic flip-flopper. It's the old story that a Blairite, a Brownite and a Corbynite go into the pub and order a drink. And the barman says, what will you be having, Mr. Burnham? All right. This guy is the epitome of the career politician who blows with the wind. And I do not believe, having not stood on the 2024 Labour general election manifesto, being parachuted in, using this by-election as a stepping stone, not making clear what his policies are at all, if he becomes the next Prime Minister through a coronation in the Labour Party, he has no mandate to govern whatsoever, and that's why I'm demanding a general election.
So do you believe that let's play this out here for a second. The Labor Party starts to pat themselves on the back because, the polls get ever so slightly better in the next couple of months. That then means they think that they've slayed the reform beast. Is the reality, though, that whenever the United Kingdom gets a chance to break up with the establishment, be it next week, next month or next year or in a few years' time, that you still see the fundamentals being that a significant number of people want to smash what has been there, regardless of what bow they put on it?
Look, 10 years ago today, the 23rd of June, 2016, this country we defied the main political parties, we defied the trade unions, we defied big business, we defied the BBC and much of our media. And guess what we did? We voted Brexit. It was something that I'd worked on for nearly a quarter of a century. It was an earthquake in British politics, and we're still feeling the aftershocks of it.
Burnham's speech today was a masterclass in progressive ambition or a recipe for financial ruin, depending entirely on which side of the aisle you occupy. He spoke of a grand rehabilitation for the state, suggesting that the path out of our current stagnation lies in robust public investment and a strengthening of the social safety net. To his supporters, it sounded like a brave new dawn of state-backed rejuvenation. To his detractors, it sounded remarkably like trying to borrow and spend our way out of a deep fiscal hole, an approach that has historically invited market volatility. Burnham casually brushed aside concerns regarding the bond markets, implying that grand social objectives should take precedence over the nerves of international lenders. It is a high-stakes strategy that has predictably set off alarm bells across the political spectrum. Nigel Farage was exceptionally quick to launch a devastating counterstrike following the address. Farage warned with absolute gravity that Burnham is playing an incredibly dangerous game with the nation's finances. According to Farage, ignoring the bond markets is the height of economic recklessness. He offered a bleak prediction, stating that if Burnham ever gets the keys to number 10 and implements this doctrine, the United Kingdom will be plunged into a major financial crisis within a mere 6 months. Farage pointed out that the nation is already accumulating debt.
There's no question about that. This will be our 6th Prime Minister in 7 years. I mean, think about that. We used to laugh at Italy. Well, I think the Italians are now probably laughing at us. So, look, there's a lot more to play out here. I think the old two-party system is under pressure in a way that it's simply never, ever been. And whether it can survive this, I don't know. And reform, why is reform doing well? It's doing well because Brexit wasn't delivered by the Conservatives. They won a massive majority. Boris won a huge majority in 2019 to say we're going to finish the job. We left the EU. We had record levels of migration, even more regulation, net zero rammed down our throats. So as I say, 10 years ago today, everything in British politics changed, and you haven't seen the end of it.
John McTiernan, who I think was part of the government under Tony Blair, came out here and worked for Julia Gillard, very good friends with our mutual friend and colleague Peter Credlin. He was on her show from London last night, and he believes that the future for the Labor Party is net zero, to further embrace it, to get more solar panels onto people's roofs. This is the way, if you disconnect from the grid, then somehow you'll free yourself of the variabilities of the grid. Now, one of the reasons why Andy Burnham might be able to sail all the way to number 10 is that everyone else who kind of thought they'd be a chance, including Ed Miliband, the former leader of the Labor Party, hardcore lefty, hardcore climate crazy, he could end up much closer to the heart of government, maybe being the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Treasurer, as we would call it here, essentially the number 2, may even become, say, the Deputy Prime Minister. But again, how disastrous would that be for Burnham to try to supercharge down net zero?
Whilst Burnham is very good at not saying to people what he really thinks, we know that he wants to rejoin the European Union. We know that he's committed to net zero. We know he thinks that the well-off should pay more taxes. This is going to be the most left-wing Prime Minister for 80 years. The most left-wing Prime Minister since the radical Attlee government of 1945. He believes in state ownership on a very, very large scale. His own parliamentary party are dragging to the left anyway. Is he going to stop the boats? 2,000 have come. 2,000 people have crossed the English Channel in the last week alone. Will Burnham stop the boats? Willie hell. It'll be Starmer, but even worse.
Yeah.
The critique from Farage did not stop at economics. He went on to describe Burnham as a political chameleon, a career politician who alters his beliefs to match whichever way the ideological wind is blowing. This clash highlights the fundamental fracture in British politics today. We are witnessing a battle between an expansive, interventionist state philosophy and a populism that demands fiscal realism and institutional upheaval. As the dust settles on today's extraordinary developments, one thing remains absolutely clear. The standard two-party consensus is under a level of strain we have simply never seen before. The decisions made in the coming months will reverberate for a generation. We will be right here to cover every twist and turn, providing the sophisticated commentary you expect. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe to Britain to ensure you never miss an update. Your subscription truly helps the channel thrive and allows us to keep delivering this vital coverage. Thank you for spending your time with us, stay informed, and we look forward to welcoming you back for our very next video.